So, bearing that in mind, there are many forecasts and so much research done into AI and the adaptation of AI and the sort of speed and rate of its progression as well. We wanted to share this stat with you that you might be aware of. So, by 2030, in a midpoint adoption scenario, and by for this, it comes from McKinsey, that midpoint adoption scenario is taken into consideration the fastest growing industries with their possible trajectories, but also the slowest growing trajectories and their trajections. So it's that midpoint for them. And it says up to 30% of current hours worked could be automated. Again, automated by the acceleration of AI. So that is a huge statistic in the amount of work that it might take from people. And so, bearing this in mind, we were really interested around what space does that leave for human intelligence, for emotional intelligence? And we came across this Klarna case study that we thought was really interesting. And, one of the things that if you think about work in the future, teams might not look the same as we know it. So maybe in teams currently, you might have a team of 8 people, of 9, maybe in a team of 30 or 40. Thinking about AI, that team now might be made up of 3 humans and 4 AI agents, for example. So that shift to teams as we know it. So this kind of case study was really interesting for us. And it's widely cited sort of in the AI boomerang in the corporate world. And it has since gone on to serve as a blueprint for the key learnings and what happens when you adapt customer interactions too aggressively. And so the CEO really boasted to the media at the time that AI agents and bots were doing the work of 700 full-time customer service agents. And that's just in its first month alone. And so the bot process, these are huge numbers, 2.3 million conversations, and it slashed the conversation time from 11 minutes to under 2 minutes. If you think about Klarna itself, again, and that human intelligence and emotional intelligence, their overall headcount dropped by roughly 22%. And they projected a massive sort of over 40 million dollar boost to its profit. So $40 million boost to its profit. But what Klarna hadn't accounted for was that its AI agents were treating all support tickets as if they required the same type of work. So what that led to was a massive spike in repeat customer interactions. So customers having to message the chat box multiple times to get questions answered, resolutions to problems. And what the bot failed to do is it really lacked that emotional empathy and also apply. So that logical reduction required, that cognitive diversity of thought to start to untangle complex fraud cases, payment disputes, and account freezes. Once this was sort of in that area, the CEO then started to admit, actually, we need to backtrack and we need to backpedal pretty fast. So they started to look at rehiring people and thinking about what is the skill that we most need. And what they've done now is invested in the quality of human support that is needed in the future. So they're really investing in human intelligence, emotional intelligence, and those soft skills. So one of the things we wanted you to think about today as we progress throughout this learning lab is when the end user is human interaction becomes key. And so we have to ask ourselves, when isn't the end user human? And also, to what extent are we as humans acting with an AI mindset?
Great. Thanks. So bearing all that in mind, and those of you will be aware, I'm sure you know what Klarna is. It's kind of like a credit company. So sort of, you pay for things in installments. So I suppose as a company, it might have seemed like one of the easiest to kind of automate. But I think what Shona's touching on there is like when things are not straightforward, that sort of bouncing forwards and back just really became impossible when it was so highly automated.